Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome, or as we like to say in Hialeah, what they do, what it is. This is the Miami Heat Beat podcast show. I'm your host, Franky G. I be Franky G on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Twitch. You can find me streaming Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. With me today, Mr. IIQ Hoops himself, Kyle Scarlett. How you doing, buddy?
We here.
We here indeed. And joining us, released from the dungeon of Sports Illustrated, 5 Reasons Sports, and Eric Spoelstra's armpit, Alexander Toledo.
What's up, man?
What up, Troppy Blanket? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to be back on here. I mean, I was hoping G would be on, but I'll come back on for another one.
Wow.
That's my guy.
We're taking him out right away for that.
No, I mean, shit, man. You've done a great job, though.
I was like highly a kindred spirits here. I'm surrounded by.
No, I didn't mean G hosting. I just meant G a part of the show. No,
okay.
I would never take a pot shot of you like that.
There
bro.
we go.
Highly a brethren.
Brother, I'm surrounded by Kendall over here. It's rough. It's rough, buddy. But we needed to do a pod. You know, we've been slacking. We acknowledge it. But we needed to do a pod, and we're going to talk about everything here. We are doing a consistent schedule now, guys. We are back Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15, through hell or high water, whatever the fucking phrase is. We are going to pod starting today. We'll be back Wednesday as well. Today, we are doing a bit of everything here. So today, we're going to get started with the big news, the Tyler Herro injury. Tyler Herro had surgery on Friday, I believe it was, to repair a posterior impingement syndrome in his left ankle. Tyler's had a history of random injuries, a lot of it on his foot and ankle on his right side. So this could have been years of overcompensating, just not getting it as strong as it needs to be. But, you know, that happens with offseason workouts. So could have been anything. I don't think we've seen anything reported of how it happened exactly. We know he was seeking other alternatives, other opinions to get so he wouldn't have to miss times. But he ultimately decided they had to have surgery. He's going to expected to miss around 8 weeks. We know that he could be a little conservative with that time frame as well. So 8 to 10 weeks, 6 to 10 weeks, somewhere around that time. Regardless, he's going to miss regular season time. Yeah. So Kyle, your first reaction to the Tyler Herro news?
I'm unsurprised. I'm unsurprised, and it's not. I don't want to take shots, but I'm unsurprised because for whatever reason he can't stay healthy long enough to string things together. I don't know if it's the physicals. He's put on weight, so I don't know. You know, to your point, there's no like news on how it happened, and clearly it's been happening. The injury's been hanging around for much longer than reported. So I'm not really sure what the deal is with him and the physical side, but I'm hoping he's able to figure that out. Now, 8 weeks is 2 months. So now they're saying 8 weeks, but that really could be 3 months depending on how rehab is, you know, him getting in shape. Depending on what his doctor says he needs to be doing while he's off the foot. So I'm not surprised. I wish I could be, but I'm not surprised.
That's very fair. I don't think you said anything too outlandish. Troppy, what was your initial reaction? And after a few days to digest it, how do you feel?
It just sucks, right? Like it just sucks, man. Like I think people were already. Like Heat fans are already kind of in a down state, right? And it shows. We know that specifically because downloads are down, views are down. Ethan talks about it all the time on the shows, as if people care. But no, really, like, I do think just in general, the interest is already kind of down because of the way that last season ended. Like, it was a depressing post Jimmy state of like the State of the Union post Jimmy was terrible. Right. And then you saw what happened in the playoff series. And it's like, wow, like they, you know, you had a nice little, like, everybody agrees that the Norm Powell trade was good value and a good trade. Right. And I think there was something to that in the sense of, like, okay, we have something to look forward to. Right. And I just think now, like, all of it just goes out the door because now guys are going to be put in a tough position. They're going to be asking guys to do, like, more than they probably should. And again, like, just like we've seen in other years at different times, it's just annoying because you already kind of weren't, like, that high on this team. And then now you're not even going to get to see what they look like all together for a while. Who knows what Herro looks like when he first comes back. It's just not, like, it's super suboptimal. I don't think that's a hot take. And, like, for as much as, like, I was looking forward to seeing maybe some things change with the offense, maybe. You know, like, I think that just kind of goes completely out the window now. They're going to have to go back to I think there's going to be a lot of stagnant stuff going on with the offense, right? I just think losing somebody like that who handles so much of the creation and, you know, one of their only great shooters left, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt their offense. Now, can they make up for it, like, with amazing defense and maybe, like, crisp ball movement and player movement? Perhaps. I just find it hard to believe that they're going to be able to get to that quickly. Like, even with knowing that, like, the Heat have known about this for a while, that the Herro thing has been going on. I don't know how long, but you know, it's not like Ethan has said, you know, it's not this thunderbolt that happened in the middle of training camp, right? Like, they're a little bit prepared for it, but still, like, for this to be the first thing, like the first big bit of news for the Heat in a while, like right before training camp starts, it sucks, man.
No, it absolutely does, and I do think there's no real way to spin it as a positive. Obviously, you know, especially for Tyler, like himself, he becomes extension eligible next month, so, you know, this is on his mind. This is on the Heat's mind. This is one of the biggest topics for all Heat pods and Heat fans. Is he going to get the extension? Has he done enough to deserve it and earn it? And you know, you can make arguments on both sides for sure, but, you know, as training camp begins next week, Ira said the whole roster is at Kaseya Center ahead of camp. Drew Smith has resumed 5-on-5 work, and that has started today. That was posted today. So training camp begins next week. We know Spo has a history of adapting on the fly, whether it's the many CB injuries and the Big Three era, or the 15-16 season when he had to adapt, when Tyler's been missed time in the playoffs as well. I think having the training camp and having this ahead of time gives them a lot of time to work on things and prepare for it. And ultimately, I think some of that could be for the better, because as good as Tyler was offensively, they relied on him way too much, and they need to find other ways to score and survive and play without him. And you're going to get a pretty decent chunk of size. At least I think he's going to miss at least like 2-3 weeks of a season, possibly more. So you're going to get good, like 10-15 games against tough competition.
Right.
And that's going to be a lot of the deciding factors for this team, how they play. And I think they've relied on too many guys offensively, whether it's Jimmy, whether it's Tyler, to do all the creating, and those guys aren't good enough. They're not Dwayne, they're not LeBron, who they can hold up an offense and bring it to top 10 territory. They've been bottom 10 the last 3 seasons. Things needed to change, whether Tyler was fully healthy or not. So the first question I want to ask about this is, who steps up with Tyler out? I went here to craftednba.com, and they have a roster builder here, and these are, you know, conservative estimates. This is what everybody averaged with the Heat last season. You know, of course, they like we talked about this pre-show. This could go up. This could go up with Tyler out, and, you know, you can ask a little bit more of Powell, a little bit more of Wiggins, expect some development and step up from Ware and Jovic and stuff. Pell 20 minutes is pretty conservative as well, but there's only 31 minutes here, and this is pretty conservative here. Kyle, is Terry gonna play?
I don't want to see him play. I don't want to see him in a Heat jersey going forward either. But no, I hope he doesn't. to be honest, I hope they lean into playing the young guys. I hope that this forces Spo to play deep. There's no reason to be playing playoff rotations in October, November. No reason. Play your guys, see what they're gonna be. Let them have some growing pains. This is not a championship roster, so play the guys. Just play deep. I mean, if you got a rookie who needs the time, needs the in-game adjustment, like time stuff to get used to like the pace and everything. You had some European guys that played great during their FIBA tourney. Give them time to make, to get some burn and show some of the things that they've, did for their teams away, and expand roles while Tyler's gone, so that if you're going to shuffle and you have versatility, from the bench, guys are not going to start once Tyler gets back. So being able to kind of slot them into roles and seeing what they're strongest at gives you more versatility up and down the roster. So again, no, I don't want to see Terry play though.
No, the Terry's a joke, I do expect more leaning on Powell than they expected to, but he's not really, he's arguably as good a shooter, if not better, than Tyler. But he's not the playmaker Tyler is, and they need that. That's why I expect Davion to start. Alex, do you expect anything different here with the rotation? Who do you think they're going to plug in for at least the start?
Well, I think without Herro, I think what you have there is a pretty solid baseline for that first 7. I think that's pretty damn accurate. Especially with Larson taking up that 7th spot. He seems like he's the guy that they're priming to take up a bigger spot in the rotation. But from there, I agree with Kyle. There's no way in hell I'm playing Terry. I think if you do see Terry, it's one of two things. Spo is extremely hard-headed, but more likely it's the second thing, that he is somehow impressed in camp, which I'm not betting on, of course. But I just think because of the way, and maybe this is naive of me, but I think because of the way that things ended towards the second half of last season there, where he just lost his spot altogether, it leaves me very skeptical that just if things are still the same, he comes in looking like the same guy he was last year, that they're just going to give it to him because Tyler's out. I just don't see the function, right? It's not like he is this facilitator who, even if he's not scoring, he's giving you other things. He is not Kyle Lowry, right? For as much as people hated it on Lowry towards the end, at least when he wasn't scoring, he was helping set guys up. Maybe you always wanted more, for sure. I'm not trying to act like he was awesome towards the end, but
right.
At least he was able to set guys up, occasionally switch on defense, and just in general, didn't make a lot of stupid decisions. And look, we've spent a lot of time on all these pods. Everybody has talked about how bad Terry is, so I don't even want to keep going in on that. I just don't see the function for him on either end of the floor, for when you've got other guys who I think deserve a shot. And going from there, I think, you're going to see, I think Hakas and Fontecchio are going to be in the rotation, and Drew Smith, if he's healthy. That would be the 10 that I would expect. Now, what I want is for Kaspers to be in there somewhere. I would love to see Kaspers get some early season minutes, which I had little to no expectations for with the Herro injury, and I still don't have high expectations now that we're going to see this. But what does leave me some hope is that he was solid as hell on defense in the summer league. Now, summer league competition is not the same as NBA competition, but with his size and just the willingness to defend and make the multiple efforts, I think that that gives him a little bit of a case to play. I think the thing is, I would love to see, even if it's in that back end 10th man, 8 minutes a game, something small, just to see what he looks like and give him a couple pick and roll reps. Don't just have him bring up the ball and stand in the corner, because that's clearly not his game. I just think you're not if you play a Kaspers, one of the other guys I mentioned is going to not play, and I don't know who that would be. So that's why I don't really have expectations for it, unless Drew Smith is just not healthy by the start of the season. They've talked about him he's ahead of schedule, and even then, maybe he's not ready for the first game. I don't know. We're gonna hear more probably on Monday when he speaks on media day. But if Drew is not ready, I think Kaspers has a shot at playing time. And if he is ready, Drew is going to play. There is no doubt about it. I think he'll probably get around 15 minutes if I had to estimate it, just like a quick estimate. And then from there, I don't even know like how you divide 31 between 3 here. And the thing with the thing with that is also Spo a lot of times plays a 9-man rotation. So that's probably how you figure out the 31 minutes. Right. And so whoever the 10th man is going to, he's going to be on the outside looking in minutes wise. So who are your confident 8th and 9th men? I think that's the real question here. Yeah. And I think if Drew is healthy, knowing how Spo is with him, I 100%. Think he's in there.
I think none of us are expecting Spo to try stuff. I think he's going to play that real safe. So I expect Drew to be in the rotation too and just lean defense probably. Because my next question was, how do you replace the offense? We know the defense leaves a lot to be desired, but offensively he is productive. He brings shooting. Like they have nobody on the roster potentially to replace it. Powell's the only thing, but Powell's supposed to be an addition, not a replacement for this. So for this stretch, Fontecchio can hit catch and shoots at a decent clip. He had some hand injuries on his shooting hand last year, but he's shot high percentage from deep before. Kaspers is capable. Nico is around a 37% shooter. Hopefully he improves on that, but you need some steady improvement on that end. But I'm going to go to Alex first on this one. Alex, do you think they lean defense or they try to replace the offense as a unit?
Lean defense for sure, okay. Especially with like how I felt about Drew playing. Like I think that is like what you said. It's like signifying, and I think just representing that's going to be what they do. I think it's what they've done in the past forever. It's kind of like their comfort zone, which I don't like. Obviously, like if you can have like a defensive foundation you feel great on, we've seen it like that. That's nice. It's just I don't think they can make up the offense. I think the way that they quote unquote make it up is by like what I said earlier, like just playing just trying to move the ball around a lot. But I don't see that happening. I think they're going to run a lot of stuff for Wiggins, and Wiggins, he doesn't like his game. The one-on-one stuff he doesn't facilitate ball movement. He's not that guy.
It doesn't make things easier for him or anybody else.
No, he like I've said on 5 on the Floor a bunch of times, but I don't want to I don't want to misrepresent how I feel about him. Like I was pleasantly surprised that he was able to he had like a nice, reliable hook shot, right? Like that was like a random thing that I wasn't really like. I know that he's had that in the past, but it was like more reliable than I expected. Like, yeah, I like the little post hook. I like that he can occasionally give you buckets. It's just he can only do it for like 1 quarter.
Yeah.
For some reason. It happens like every time. Now, like again, it was a tiny sample size. He missed like just as many games as he played basically for the Heat. But I just don't think he can do a lot more than like little bursts of scoring once you give him the ball. I think he's at his best when he's kind of balancing the two, and he's mostly playing like a high-level role player and then who occasionally can give you some buckets. And I think that's why he looked at his best with the Warriors' offensive infrastructure, where he wasn't relied on too much. And I don't think that's going to happen here. Like they don't have that type of spacing. They don't have that type of ball movement. And I think it's going to affect a lot of things. This team looks like they might be able to make up. I think they can get into like a top 11 type of defense without Tyler. I think that's realistic. I mean,
they were top 12 last season. They were top 12 last season with 77 games of Tyler and only about 20 games of Jimmy. So I think that's fair. That's a fair presumption for that span. They should be better. They were bottom 10 offensively even with Tyler. So I wasn't expecting much there, even with Powell coming in. But Kyle, do you think they're same question? Do you think they're going to lean defense or try to replace it in as a whole?
Well, to me, I always feel that they struggle with both and. What I mean by both and is teams that are really good at adapting play both sides of the ball. And so you want, especially with Tyler not being, the one to handle the ball here, you're expecting better player and ball movement. We have not seen that. I mean, we thought that to some degree we'd probably get like a different offensive coordinator, somebody who does something different to give a wrinkle to what the offenses look like. That did not happen. And so to me, it's just I'm hoping this is a hope. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm hoping this forces Spo to be innovative, because there are plays where we've all seen it where you're like, well, You're this creative for 3 or 4 plays. Why are you boring otherwise? Like, why is it you can run this out of bounds play? Like his out of timeout plays are the crispest thing about his offense. And then after that, it's kind of like, okay. So I'm hoping that it's one of those things where it kind of goes back to the earlier, about rotation spots. You had 2 guys who went FIBA, and a lot of Euro play is player movement to spots, getting shots in with optimal spacing.
Yeah.
But that would have to be what takes place during training camp. Hey guys, look, offense is not going to run the way it ran last season. Tyler's not here. We're not getting his 3-point shooting for a while. Here's what I would like to see. So it's going to require him to really lean into, like, you don't have a primary playmaker. Nothing against Davion, nothing against Bam, those are both guys who can play make, but that's not their primary skill. You're going to need to lean into everybody who has the ability to make reads and make them quicker. And that should really be what the focus of training camp is making reads faster so that the offense moves faster. Pace was down. It's been down. I'm hoping – you hear me say hope a lot. I'm hoping that they're able to make some adjustments so that the offense is not disgusting. Bottom 10 is gross. I wouldn't be opposed if it's just middle of the pack. I'm not expecting much from them, but if it's at middle of the pack with this roster, then that's a win in my opinion. So I'm hoping they can do both. And if I had to answer it simply, I do believe it's likely going to lean defense, but I hope it's not leaning defense and then dropping off offensively even further. That's
my presumption. I feel like there'll be a top 8 defense around that area. They have the roster for it. Powell's nothing to write home about defensively anymore. But this is a contract year for him. He's playing for that last big contract of his career, probably. Yep. And so he has something to play for. We expected a hungry performer out of him.
And he's got a hell of an opportunity to get that bag now. Like they're going to give him a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think they kind of need to lean into the skill sets of everybody a little bit more and not rely on anybody to carry them. You're going to have stretches where you need to run a couple ISOs. Mm-hmm. You got a matchup or something. You get somebody's got to go in. That's basketball. But for the overall function of their offense, I think you lean into Bam's playmaking as opposed to his scoring. You lean into Davion's playmaking, Davion's penetration. Play off of that. Play off of the Powell's off-ball movement. He's a pretty good downhill driver. Use his spacing. I would love for them to push the pace, but I don't expect it. I don't expect change from them. They are so stubborn. But I think they have an opportunity to experiment. I don't think they have anything to lose. They own their own pick. It doesn't matter.
Can I ask you a question, Franky?
Absolutely.
Because I respect just in general, what you have to say about it. What are some of the things that you would like to see from their offense, given the situation, like some wrinkles that you would. I do 100% agree with what Kyle's talking about, by the way. I think that's a huge, huge point, man. The making quicker reads and just not pounding the ball because they don't really have the personnel for it. I think that would be awesome if they were just a get off the ball type of team and everybody is making crisp passes. That would be huge. But as far as just things that you want gone and things that you want to replace with, are there anything you have in mind there?
Oh, absolutely. First off, Spo's always prioritized spacing over off-ball movement, and the league has evolved. They're guys aren't catch and shoot shooters. Guys rotate hard and close out to those, and they don't have the Shane Battiers who make up for it on the other end as two-way guys. So I need that off-ball movement to give your defense some life, and it also, you give your offense some life. Because they're able to lock in on the ball way too much because nothing else is happening. The only off-ball movement we ever see is cuts to the basket. There's never anything going side to side. There hasn't been a hammer screen since PJ Tucker left. And I need some of that. Experimentation. I need the pushing and pace. They need to get up the floor so much faster. They get into their offense with they risk so many shot clock violations. I think they were top 5 in shot clock violations on the season. That's ridiculous. Tyler's doesn't take charges. Everyone else on this team needs to take charges and needs to evolve on that.
What's up with that? They like completely went away from charge taking. It used to be like one of their like foundations.
They were horrible at that. Well, Kyle was one of their leaders. Duncan, it was always Kyle, Duncan, and I think Gabe and Max. So Gabe and Max and Kyle are gone. So it was only Duncan. And Kevin Love as well. Kevin out of the rotation. So like all those guys stop playing, and everybody they replace him with doesn't take charges. So like I think Pell's one guy who will step in and take a charge. So I like that. But offensively, it's just a lot more movement, quicker decisions. They do this thing where it's not only with the dribble handoff, but they try to spam something. They'll try to spam something, and it's not there, and they don't flip the ball to the other side. And let's try go into something quick. Like if you watch. My favorite W team is the Aces. They're not always pretty. Yesterday, for example, but their decision making is so much faster. They flip the ball, they rotate the ball,
going to the next action,
go to side to side. This action's not there. All right, somebody's moving, somebody's cutting. There's constant rotation on offense, and that is not the case offensively for the Heat. And it's like night and day watching my W team and my NBA team. And obviously they have Asia Wilson to play, but when Asia's not playing, they still run the offense exactly the same. They just don't go through the big on the floor looking to score. They run offense through them to get other people involved, and they can do that. The Heat can do that. Bam's at one of the sneaky good passer. Nico's very talented passing. Davion surprised me the most. His ability to get 2 feet in the paint, and I think I think you could make a case he's better at it than Tyler because he was a more natural playmaker than Tyler. Tyler's looking for that floater, and teams will sag off that. Davion's better at getting his teammates involved on that respect, on that, and knowing when to decide himself versus his teammates. And I think. You go a little more traditional in that sense. I let Davion make a lot of decisions, let him score, let him push the break. I think Norm is really good in transition. I think he was top 5 in transition points per game. Lean on these guys' strengths. Nico's a great outlet passer, loves to get on transition. Bam's a really good outlet passer. Tyler, when he get back, Tyler's best passing skill is his outlet passing. He is on point with his chest passes in transition. You have guys who want to run. Wiggins, Jaime, Fontecchio. These guys want to run in the break. You have Ware and Bam. They have bigs to run. The Spurs and the Magic game when they the 2 big lineup looked the best. Those guys were running. They were getting turnovers and running. And the Heat have just been they've been the best conditioned team, but they never want to run for some reason.
I think the problem with the running is, and I think that's what's interesting to me about their defense. In order to get out and run, you need to turn the ball over. And sometimes they give up offensive rebounds on the boards. They don't stop possessions. Mm-hmm. And so in order to do that, you have to stop possessions and get out and run. Now, the other problem that I hope is fixed with training camp is everybody running the way Nico runs. If he gets the ball off the rim, he's pushing pace. And for whatever reason, and I'm hoping this is like a mentality shift because there's no Jimmy here, there's none of that other stuff. I see trotting, like run with him, like give him options to pass to. Give someone run to the corner, like run a regular fast break. I want him to use fast breaks.
Kyle, and it's you don't even need to get a shot up. Just get the ball up ahead. If there's no shot, you get into your action, you keep it moving, and you're already attacking a bent defense most of the time when you're attacking early. It's just easier ways that they can schematically create opportunities just by changing their philosophies. But it's just something that we need to see before we believe in. Now I want to move on to the next topic. I saw when I saw this posted on the NBA subreddit, I was laughing because I saw Lakers fans saying, "Oh, they're definitely going to trade Wiggins now." I do now believe. I believe they're going to trade Wiggins even less now. Troppy, do you believe the same thing?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think they were going to trade Wiggins before, just because it doesn't seem like they're going to get that first round pick that they wanted out of the Lakers. Since they only have like one that they can trade right now, I believe, and it's like super far down the line. They're being super, conservative with that as far as the trade chip. So once that got out of the way, I didn't have any faith in Wiggins being traded. But especially now, like as we talked about earlier, they're going to rely on him to do more. They're going to ask him to score like we saw them do at times when he was playing last year. And just in general, like I'm interested to see how he plays. And like somebody called us out here in the comments, Fattest and Man says he's really miffed at how us experts keep writing off Wiggins, a 10-year two-way champion, runner-up finals MVP wing, and one-time All-Star vet, as we discuss how much we're going to miss Tyler, one-time All-Star mid-playoff performance. First of all, look, if you are Andrew Wiggins' burner, we didn't mean any disrespect. It just feels weird that somebody's riding so hard for him like that. But no, like he is a good player. I'm not trying to downplay him. I'm just aware of his limitations, man. Like I think like what I was saying before, I think he was in a really nice situation with what he had with the Warriors when things were clicking, man, when they had, Jordan Poole doing his thing, being somebody who could supplement Steph scoring. You had Clay still, being Clay. You had Draymond. You had I just think he had a better situation for him where like a lot of the offense, most of the offense, the overwhelming majority was not run through him, and he was just kind of able to play off of that. I don't think the Heat can replicate that with or without Tyler, especially not without Tyler. I think he's going to be asked to kind of play more like Minnesota Wiggins, right? And they're going to, and the thing is, they already are going to ask him to be that guy on defense too, like guarding the other team's wings. I don't know if he's capable of being that like scorer for you while also guarding wing. I don't know. Like I got to see it. I think we're in a weird situation right now with like what this team is going to look like. It's kind of hard to project. And me and Ethan talked about this today on the pod. It's going to go up tomorrow about like how this affects Bam. But just in general, like it affects a lot of people, right? Because Wiggins is going to be playing this one-on-one game. Norm Powell has never been in this position, right? Where like he's going to be asked to be like one of the main scorers, if not the main scorer, without a great like lead facilitator, right? There's no Kyle Lowry, there's no James Harden,
right?
And Herro, like you mentioned earlier, Franky, like he became a much improved playmaker over the years, and I think they're going to miss that aspect of it too. Like I do like what I saw a lot from Davion last year about his ability to just get into the paint and make a play. Like he looked awesome from that aspect of it wasn't just hot shooting that made him look good here, and of course the defense. So like I'm encouraged by what Davion did, but still like Norm Powell is going to be in a position that he's never been in, right? At 32 years old, playing for a new contract, playing in this position. So it's hard to project. Like I really do hope they lean into him more off ball than on ball, because I think that's where he stands out. But he is going to be asked to do, I think, more on ball work than we were going to see originally. So it's just hard to project all of it together. Like I'm trying to imagine what that starting lineup is going to look like, and I don't know. Like I just, like Kyle said earlier, if they can get into the middle of the pack offensively, I think that's a huge win. Because I like with Tyler, I think that was a little bit more realistic, just because you had the multiple, the multiple shooting threats playing off of Bam. Like I thought there was something there, right? Like something that they can do with that. And I wanted to see the different look. Now all of that goes right out the window. And I think you're just trying to like make up, with what you have. And I don't think what they have is enough. Wiggins, man, like you go back to this one-on-one stuff. It doesn't lead to ball movement. Norm Powell, if he's asked to do stuff with the ball in his hands, is that going to lead to ball movement? Bam, with the ball in his hands, if they're not going to be like, man, I just think they're going to have multiple guys in the lineup every time that are going to get helped off aggressively. And it's like what you're talking about earlier with the lack of ball movement, where guys are just spacing more often than not. They're sometimes in a cut, but more often than not, they're spacing. And I just think it's so much easier as a defense to help off if the guy is going to stay in that position. Because then it's like one less thing that you have to worry about as a defender. It's like, okay, he's going to be right in that corner. I could just go right back over there. If a guy is constantly moving off ball, it becomes harder to help. And I think the Heat, like to your point, Franky, they don't do enough of that stuff. And I think they're gonna need to, if they want to get the best out of some of these guys. Like, what is Bam supposed to do? What is Wiggins supposed to do if they're like Kel'el Ware is being helped off of Davion Mitchell, like he shot great again from three. He was left open on most of those. even with that, even with how hot he was shooting, I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep leaving him open and doing the late closeouts versus him and Kalel versus Jaquez and Larson. You know, those are the guys that I'm thinking about, because once these guys who are more limited playmakers have to see a lot of help defense, I think that's where things are gonna get tricky.
Yeah, I think if their answer to this is hoping guys hit catch and shoot threes, they're gonna be disappointed. They're not going to be consistent, and they're going to be disappointed because you're not playing to their strengths. Like you're literally playing to it. Like Jaime, the way Jaime was used and scouted, it was all on his catch and shoot threes. Pretty much everything was scouted, everything was taken away, and he had no adjustment. And the team didn't adjust for him either. They had nothing to help him get back to his spots. So like you need to do stuff as a coach to get your players in the best position possible.
Drew Smith is going to get left open too.
Yeah, Drew Smith, to his credit, in those 10 games he played, 50% from three. That's great. That's outstanding. But is he going to get the same attention? There's two less shooters in Duncan and Tyler both gone for that stretch. Is he going to be able to stay healthy as well? Is he going to be able to defend at the same level?
They're going to pack the paint, man.
They're going to pack the paint. That's why. Exactly. That's why, Kyle. That's why we talk about pushing in transition, getting in early, and moving.
And I think the thing, even with the movement, it's funny because I saw somebody in here who said like the passing and understanding the offense. If I had to say anything, simplifying the offense would probably be the best thing to do. Like I know they're not going to be pace in space. That's just not Spo. But if they're able to lean into where guys know exactly where they're supposed to be in offense, and not simple from the perspective that any team could figure it out, simple from the fact that the guys you're coaching know exactly where they're going to be and how to make adjustments if there's an alternative, if there needs to be a shift. And then just like setting better screens, making like just it's all the little stuff that will help with this time between Tyler being there and Tyler not being here. And
yeah,
the Wiggins aspect, if they're going to trade Wiggins, it wouldn't be to the Lakers. And that's just my opinion. I don't think they have anything that they really want, to be honest with you. That roster is limited as far as draft capital, which I think that he would want to be leaning more into. And then the roster itself doesn't necessarily have guys that they like. If you're trading Wiggins, you would like a specific kind of guy back. Right. That does something that you're looking for. I just don't think the Lakers have it. So they'll probably wait if they are going to trade him. And it's likely a waiting game. See what he looks like with a full training camp, which is, I know that's probably going to trigger some Heat fans. Wait for a training camp and see what he looks like and all that type of stuff. But I think one of the things that I think might be a solution also is just leading into the athleticism of the team. You got a lot of guys with big wingspans. Lean into the defensive aspect of and add the athleticism. I think that's one of the biggest problems is like the offense also sometimes limits the athletic ability of the guys they do have on the roster. And so I would love for it to be simple where a guy knows what he's supposed to be doing out on the floor versus like with Jaime, second year, like all the spin moves to nowhere, all that kind of stuff. Like there was no shift for him to like, hey, okay, so you made the first move, just go. Take the contact, stuff like that.
Yeah.
The taking charges. This is all the little gritty things that the Heat are supposed to play like, which is what I would prefer them get back to.
Right.
Obviously the game has changed, but there are still elements of their identity that I think could help. And Wiggins is, I'm not expecting him to average 20 per game. That's not what I want from him. If he averages 15 and gives me great defense on the other side, I'm good. Like,
yeah,
I would prefer everyone understand their role out of this offense versus we're going to lean on Wiggins. We're going to lean on Powell. Like, no, how about those guys will have moments where they need to step up. Cool. But everyone has a role and they can like slide in and slot into what it is that they're supposed to be doing. And that's kind of what I think is the most important thing of this is simplifying the offense to your players from a role perspective. Like
100%. Because we saw, for example, we saw this in the preseason last year. We saw them where they did have this mindset. They got punched in the face and they reverted back to old habits right away. and they need to keep adjusting. Like they didn't fully adjust back to the way, Bam played a lot more on the perimeter than he did in years past, took a lot more threes than in years past. So I think
remember all the steals they were generating in preseason last year. What the hell happened to that?
It's just, it was bullshit. That's what it was. The
5-out ball movement, all of it was complete BS. Like it just did not translate. It did not last. At least it's like they gave up on it, like you said.
Well, if you look at Terry's preseason numbers, he was shit there too. So building their offense around Terry and Tyler was left a lot to be desired. But it's funny.
Last year was rough, man.
Yeah, I mean, they just have to make some adjustments. I don't think it's I don't think we say it's impossible. It's hard for sure, but that's Heat culture, baby. Get it out the mud. I do want to talk about real quick before we get to our question and answers from the chat, and one more last chance to get your questions in before we get to the Q&A section. Do you guys think this increases the likelihood of an early Norm Powell extension? We've said, you guys were reported in 5 Reasons that the Heat really like Powell. Everything's really excited and really trending in the right direction there. And there is talks of potentially an early 2, 3, 4 year extension for him. He is 32 years old. He just had the best year of his career. Do you think this changes anything on him if he performs well? Do you think this changes anything for them, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question to think about now, because
tough question.
It is a tough question for sure. But seriously, like the Norm thing, man, like I get the idea of trying to just re-sign the guy if you really just want to keep him going forward, like getting him if you think it's good value and you'd rather just get it out the way now. But again, like I just don't know where they stand. Like, what is their objective? What are they trying to do? Because that just has to matter in a question like this. Like, there was so much talk over the past couple of seasons about this, the cap relief they were going to get in 2026. Like, do you still care about that? I never really bought that much into that because I didn't think there was going to be much out there to do with it. By the time you got to 2026, and look where we are now. We're not even in 2026 yet, and it's already looking kind of dry next year. Their objective with keeping the books clear for that next star whenever it does become available, 2026 summer or not, just in general, I get that. But if that is your thing, how does Powell fit into that, right? Are you going to re-sign him because you think he can be not only a good player, but potentially a tradable contract if you do need another one? We know they love the tradable contract stuff when it comes to re-signing guys. That's always a big factor. And they've re-signed guys who are just not good because they think they'll be tradable contracts. So with somebody like Norm, it makes more sense because he is good. But look, I think, what we were talking about earlier with how Herro's absence will affect him. I don't think it's going to help, even with the increased production, right? For the same reasons we've been talking about. I just think they're going to have clunky offense a lot of times based on, the way that I'm looking at it right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. It would be great for all of us. But I think it's probably, it serves them best to wait. I don't see the need to rush it right now. I just think it makes a lot of sense to wait, even with before the Herro injury news. I felt that way, but I feel that way even stronger now. I get it in a vacuum if you really just want to keep him, right? I don't think it's terrible, but it just, to me, the pro of getting him early and keeping him doesn't outweigh me just wanting to wait it out and see what happens. Because, and look, I criticize him a lot for wanting to wait it out with Jimmy, but I think that was a completely different situation. That was a guy who proved it over and over and over again at an insane level, right? And I just think they kind of went gambling a little bit with how they handled that, hoping that things would just magically go right. And whatever, we don't have to get into the but because that still annoys me.
Listen, unlike 5 Reasons, we don't discuss Jimmy Butler every episode. No shots. I'm just playing.
But yeah, it's just what are you gonna do from here, right? You're gonna resign. Are you gonna resign Powell to an extension, resign Jovic to an extension, and then see what happens next summer with Herro? If that's the plan, I guess there's something to it, but it just, I think, how much is the flexibility going to matter to you, right? Yeah. I guess, are you throwing flexibility out the door, or is this just the modern NBA if you're extending those guys? It's you just, most guys extend before free agency now, especially stars, but that's not really what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the best of the best. So I just feel like all in all, I said a lot, but I don't really know what to do with it. I think I would probably just wait it out a little bit and see what you got.
I think 100%, Kyle, and I want to give my opinion. So Kyle, I want you to react to it. I think 100% that they're going to look to extend him. And if they don't realize that Norm off a career year, borderline all-star, was a salary dump with no picks involved for Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love, you do not overpay that guy. You do not. That guy's not going to be valuable at any fair deal. If you give him 25 a year, that's a fair deal. That's not a guy you're going to be able to flip. That's unless it's like short-term deal, especially because he's 32 now. He's going to get older. He's more likely to get more injured and recover,
and maybe decline
as well, and have more difficult time recovering. I do not think there should be in any rush. I'm so pro having him on this year's team because they needed shooting, they needed veteran leadership, they needed professionalism for this young group of guys. They talked about the youth movement. It's not a youth movement if you extend a 32-year-old, never been an all-star guy.
At all. And I think my thing with that is, if you've been waiting this long, why rush it now? Like, I'm lose not on, but I'm going to use his phrase again. Don't fail the open book test again. It's really like it's right there. Like, if you're not going to extend Tyler, because I think the injury definitely is a weird like question mark and on how soon they're going to extend him, and then shifting the focus from extending him to shift, like, you don't have to extend anybody right now. I feel like you let it play out. And even if you look at next year's like list of guys who are free agents, to be honest with you, I would be looking at young guys on the list anyway, not guys that are 32 and nothing. I'm not even knocking Norm Powell. I just think if they're going to lean young, if they're going to start to retool, they don't believe in full rebuilds, but like there are young guys who are trying to take leaps that will be available that maybe people aren't looking for or maybe paying attention to, that I think you wait and hold the money off of. Don't overpay, and then you're tied up salary cap wise, especially with you got Bam's extension getting ready to hit. I think either this year or next year, right? And so there's all these little variables that I think they should be paying attention to instead of worrying about spending more money. Yeah. Especially with the way salary cap is happening, the penalizations that happen from it. There are all these little things that can happen if you rush the deal. So to me, talking about it is a cool thing to say, hey, man, look, we like your game. If you continue to do something that we like, this is an option. But actively like thinking about doing an extension now does not seem like the best idea. And I'm hoping that they kind of think it through and wait a little bit. Wait till next summer. In my opinion, if you've decided to put all your eggs in the basket to next summer, there's no reason to extend anybody that doesn't already have money on the table. Like,
you know what it is, young. It's like if you're extending these guys, you're signing up to be right back in the tax again.
You're signing up to be the 30 and 11 squad again.
If you're signing up to be in the tax again, like, what was the point of, like, I get it. They were trying to avoid the repeater tax for a team that's not going to be that great. Like, I get why they're trying to avoid it now. But again, like, it just feels like there's like two different things going on, and I'm not really sure what they're going for. If they end up like re-signing Powell, re-signing Jovic, and eventually at some point re-signing Herro, which looks like it's gonna, if it happens, it'll be next summer instead. I don't think there's gonna be any extension in October for him. And I felt that way before the injury too. But based off everything Riley and Herro said at the end of last year, it seems like they both kind of agreed that, like, if it doesn't work out in October, it's no big deal. Push it till next summer, whatever. If you extend guys, you're signing up for a window where you think you're going to be good. So how are you going to get there? Because it can't just be re-signing everybody, right? Like, I get it. Like, you want to put yourself in a position where you want guys, like the guys that you want to keep, if that's how they're looking at it, like, it's good to have it locked down. But I just think there has to be a plan with it, right? Like, it can't just be like, okay, we like him, we like him, re-sign. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's before honestly, like now just talking it through even more, I feel even like stronger that they shouldn't extend anybody right now because the
100%.
situation, the context that they're going to be in without Herro, like it's just not going to be ideal. I don't think it's going to be a great representative sample to be evaluating players. Like I just think waiting till the end of the season to make these decisions is probably the best thing for all the guys who are going to be extension eligible.
Yeah, and I agree. I think ultimately they need to stop bidding against themselves and see guys for what they are. You know, like you can like these guys. I love these guys. I love some of these guys. I'm not doesn't mean I'm gonna. I want them to get overpaid and make it extra difficult to trade these guys because like right now you don't have that guy. You probably don't have that second guy offensively. So you need a lot more for this team and this core. And I think ultimately a lot of them are. I think the biggest thing about the season is like they have to be uncomfortable with some of these decisions, and they have to make hard decisions, and that's why they have that job security, and that's why they have their salaries because they are in those positions to make those decisions. And we're going to get to our last segment here for our questions and answers. Your last absolute chance to get any questions in. And we're going to go one by one for these. And I'm going to pass it. I'm going to give one question to Kyle. Give one question to Alex. I'll take a question and we'll leave it at that. So first question here from Broham Z on YouTube. Alex, when are you going to hold Spo in the front office accountable?
Wait to find out. Media day is coming up.
Ooh,
we'll find out.
So that's a tease. Kyle, do you think the Heat will be offered a lotto protected first for Wiggins this season? From CP on YouTube.
There are a lot of teams that possibly could do that.
Lotto protected makes it interesting.
Lotto protected is a big deal, though. With this upcoming draft and having covered it or have begun to cover it, that's going to be a very hard press. If there's a lotto protected, no. Second round, maybe. Maybe like a late first round and a second round pick. That would be the most like ideal package. And it would be a team that has cap space to take on what Wiggins is making. So, yeah.
All right. From CP as well. What do you think Norm's trade value could be at the deadline? I'll take this one. I think shouldn't expect much. I think if the Heat are selling and looking to sell, I think you're looking at mostly seconds, but late first, maybe a young prospect that a team doesn't have room to play or something like that. Which I think that's for considering you swapped Slow-Mo and Caleb for him. I think that's a big win, and I'll take anything you can get for him. Broham Z, I'm going to ask Troppy this. Do you think at any point the front office will think about moving Bam? He's basically wasting his prime on a team that isn't going to win anything soon. Might as well cash in while he's at his peak.
I get the line of thinking, but my realistic answer is no. They won't think about moving him. I think it would have to be like multiple years of just being where it just ends up becoming so obvious that nothing is going on. And I don't think they're built like that. Like they don't even want to trade away like supplementary rotation players for a first round pick or whatever. Like a first round pick might not be available for like some of the guys that have been on their team before they let walk, but whatever. Like they don't want to sell ahead of time when it comes to supplementary rotation players. So I don't believe that they're going to become a selling team with Bam at some point. I just think I just looked up his extension really quick to remind myself he's locked in through 2029. I mean, there's a player option at the end there for 28, 29. It seems like, they're fully committed to him and for good reason. I think Heat fans take for granted who Bam is and how he's looked at around the league, not just because he's a nice guy and other stars love him. Like, I think that almost gets like overrated. It's like, no, like what he does on the court, the majority of other bigs can't do. Like he is in a select class of guys on the defensive end, and he's no Ben Wallace on offense either, who, he's, I think people don't give him credit for the type of player he is. I think that he realized what they have and like how helpful he is towards their ultimate goal of winning a championship. Like he is a championship type of player. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's just, if they ever think about moving on from Bam, I think it's because of him. It's like, okay, like I don't want to keep doing this. I want to eventually win a championship. I don't see Bam doing that anytime soon. I think it would have to be multiple years And look, it's already been multiple years of not great regular seasons. But to be fair, all Bam is known for most of his NBA career is playoff runs, or at least getting to the playoff. And he's had multiple long playoff runs. Like, I just think it's not like he's been like one of these players who's just been wasting away his entire career. Like, he hasn't, like, for as annoying as it's been, some of these regular seasons, he's had it pretty good. Like, he lives in Miami. They've been fully committed to him, fully committed to paying him as much as possible, right? Like, he's got everything here that he could want. Now, I just think it would have to really sour over like several years of not competing for it to ever get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Kyle from CP, what is the Heat's plan on obtaining their next superstar? All these other moves don't matter. No superstar equals no title hopes.
I partially agree with that second, notion, but if anything, last season, this is a Heat pod, but the Pacers were balanced, which is why they made it as far as they did. So I do think you do need a superstar, yes, but I also think you need a balanced team around the superstar. I mean, you saw what happened with the Suns as another instance. They had what you would consider a loaded front, like top heavy, and they didn't make the finals any of the seasons that they
didn't even make the playoffs this past season. Not even the play-in. That's insane.
So you want balance plus a superstar, and I think that's really what they should be looking to do, is finding guys who balance out what they want from an offensive and defensive perspective. A roster filled with guys who are two-way, who can score the ball, but also give their best effort on defense. That should be the plan. The next superstar thing is cool, but that's if you have the chips to do it. And they don't have the capital, in my opinion, to swing for that. So they should focus on balancing out the team first.
Like, if they're not going to sell on guys, which we know they won't, can you at least try to bring up the value of some of your young guys and like actually play them instead of going for like old conservative, Drew Smith or
Slow-mo.
whatever? Yeah, and this year's slow-mo is going to be Fontecchio. And look, like, I get why they're going to give him some minutes. They're going to need the shooting, and another forward down there. But yeah, like, man.
It's much different having those guys play. Like, if you're paying Fontecchio with other young guys to, like, you need a steady presence, that's much different. If you're relying on Fontecchio at the expense of the young guys, that's what none of the fans want to see that. I don't care if it's the difference between a 1 or 2 wins in the regular season. I don't care. This team is not going to win a playoff round. This team didn't win a playoff game last season. They need to have bigger. This team that loves championship culture, loves to talk about banners. They need to hold themselves to a higher standard and seek that goal again. And I feel like they're
deluding yourself into thinking that you're just you're
the short term,
like some details away from winning, like execution, right? Like, you can execute as great as possible, and like their best case scenario this year, absolute best case scenario, is they win around, and I don't see that happening by any stretch of the imagination. It would have to be a very favorable, like, you had a great regular season, you got to like the 4th or 5th seed, right? And even then, it's like, who are you going to see in the 4th or 5th seed? You might see the Orlando Magic there. I mean, the Detroit Pistons seem like they're ready to take a step. Like, they're going to get Jaden Ivey back this year. I think Duncan and LeVert are going to be nice additions to their offense, and they already like got a nice jump last year from the shooters they got. Like, in general, you're not going to see a great matchup because they're not going to be in that top 3. Right. So I just think, like, why do you have this short-term line of thinking when the short term, like, the grass is not green? You know what I mean? Like, they're not where they're supposed to be. So sometimes it feels like they're trying to act like they are, and they're trying to like almost like convince themselves that they're where they're supposed to be, and they're not. They're just not.
And I think the thing with that is, I was just thinking about, like, when I mentioned balancing, I thought of the Rockets immediately. The reason they were able to add Kevin Durant to their roster and immediately be like vaulted into like top 6, top 5, like, because they were number 2 last season, but that's because they balanced out their roster with guys that can contribute to making a run. So unless the Heat have that, which in my opinion, they don't have that on this
roster. They have an elite defense also, the Rockets.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like top 5 level.
So that's what the Heat need to do, is they need to have a Rockets season where maybe this is that season where they're not that great, and they grab somebody from this upcoming draft that helps shift kind of the culture a bit forward, and then that following season then it's like, okay, we've got the athletes for it. We've got some chips here. We still have a few of our picks. We can make some moves if they're going to make moves, or we're going to lean into our guys getting better and some of these guys take leaps.
It's just the all those teams that you mentioned, every team that the NBA is a cycle. These teams go through these points, and the Heat are in a downwards point right now, and the Heat have to accept that, and they have to be okay with that. And they get like the Wiggins thing it gives me some hope that they're looking to sell for a pick, but until they fully embrace that and moves guys at peak value, play the young guys over the veterans, lean growth over wins right now. Like I have no faith in this team and this core in this front office or whatever, but we'll see. What we want to be wrong. We all want to be wrong.
What are the chances that they put together like this season where like at least not the season, but like the stretch where with Tyler out, it's going to be, let's say, around the first month, right? He misses somewhere around 15 games based on that timeline.
They start the season with Orlando, at Memphis, Knicks at home, then the Hornets at home, at San Antonio, at Lakers, at
Hornets scare me more than anything else.
Lakers, Clippers on a back-to-back, and then 2 days later they go to Denver, and then they get Charlotte, Portland, Cleveland, New York, Golden State, Chicago. That's where the season.
That is brutal. That's even worse than I remember.
Yeah, like it's gonna be rough, but I think they one of the biggest problems they had last season, they didn't have an identity. Their identity was a mess. They were a mess of a team. They played and looked like throw up, like a kid throwing up on themselves, in the clutch, in transition, in the media, on the court, off the court, in the playoffs, everywhere. It was just a mess. And this season, you have this Tyler New sucks. Hope he gets better soon. Hope he's back healthy. But adapt right now. You don't have Tyler. You don't have Tyler. Let's see who we are.
We're saying hopium in the comments.
Copium, yeah.
No, so somebody's saying hopium. How? Have you been listening to the show? I don't feel like this has been a very hopium show.
I think this guy just got in the chat right now.
Man, it's a terrible schedule to start the season. It makes me feel even worse. Like I think now, we might be. Oh man.
Chad says Kyle needs to stop gatekeeping his barber.
Oh yeah, I did a hell of a job. But dude, you're gonna have to be in this weird position in this early season schedule, man. Oh man, they're gonna dig a hole for themselves, aren't they? And it's like
this comment right here.
It's exactly what I was about to talk about. It's like they might stumble into one of these scenarios where we're like 10 games under 500 to start the season. Like let's just sell on Powell and Wiggins. Like I don't see that. They're not a selling team, so I'm not betting on that. But maybe the chances of that go up a little higher. Like that's something that you're rooting for for them to be able to get some stuff for them. Digging yourself a hole and all of a sudden embracing a mini tank like that. Maybe that's how it happens. But
reality. I need reality.
I mean, it's just like the NBA history is littered with teams getting lucky. Like that sometimes just happens. This comment. Ladora4 on Twitch. Pacers managed to reload without truly really tanking, but they took big swings with trading Paul George, and then again after trading Sabonis, they also traded Oladipo as well to help get them pieces as well. Reshaping the roster can happen, but they need to take risk, and that's the thing. They don't want to build this. They can't build in free agency because that's not a thing anymore. So you got to adapt, and you got to sell high on some guys. You got to get some pieces. You got to make trades, and it's not just trades in the way they wanted, where it's just we're gonna give you picks and players we don't want. They got to give up stuff they want to keep sometimes. So our next pod is gonna be Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 24th, 7:15. We're gonna discuss the youth on the team, the Jovic, Ware, all the guys on the rookie deal, Caspers, how they potentially get affected by this Tyler news, and what can we expect from them for the season and for this stretch? Yeah, the chat says we shipped Haywood with a second. Pat doesn't take no risks. Absolutely, I agree.
That one hurt.
Self plug. I'd be Franky G on Twitch. I'm streaming tomorrow and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time on my Twitch. That's my handle, IBE Franky G. Kyle, got any self promotions? Any plugs? Where can people find you?
Oh man, I haven't. It's crazy. I haven't even been posting on my own channel as of late, but I've been on DraftStack the last 3 or 4 months. So we were covering already on 2026. We're covering Euro guys and everything. A lot of interesting prospects to talk about with this upcoming draft.
Man.
And I think it gets more and more loaded as the time goes on. So I'll be on there, and hopefully on here as well. We'll see.
I like it. Troppy, thank you again for joining us, brother. Where can the people find you? I know you're being put to work by every media company that you work for.
Well, you already know, check me out on 5 on the Floor. We've been posting daily throughout the summer, even with nothing to talk about. So if you need your fix of Heat content, 5 on the Floor, we always got you on a daily basis of any angle you could possibly think of to cover this Heat team. We've probably already done it at some point throughout this offseason. And then the other thing, of course, check us out on Sports Illustrated. Ethan has recently done this corporate takeover over the past month. And he's, it's kind of become another leg of 5 reasons there where the writing is going there now. It's me, it's Brady, it's Ethan. So, we've got a lot of Heat content coming out. We're covering as much as we can. But of course, man, I always got to, as my computer falls here, give love to you guys, man. I always, watch every show you guys put out as soon as it comes out. And
once a month.
I miss y'all, man.
Once a month this summer, but we're back, guys. We'll promise we're gonna be super consistent now. Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:15. If I got a pot alone, I'm gonna be doing it. But we did hire some new people, so you will see a couple new faces, hear about a couple new names behind the scenes helping out with the pod as well. So we're very excited for that. But we're gonna be way more consistent. We promise you guys. We apologize for our summer, and we are going to be way better this year. You guys are going to enjoy the content.
We all needed a refresh.
Yeah, we all need a refresh. We rebuilt a little bit. We reshaped things up, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited. And for the last thing, Marlon's still live, still in the hut. Let's go.